Hello, everyone. We are back again with a new episode of Get Broadcasted with Rani Shifron, sitting in Tel Aviv right now during the coronavirus, eager to get out and help the world again. And he'll have to do it from his home if that's what it takes. I'm sure he's already doing that around the world as an international consultant. But today's topic is about digital health for startups and really any business and at any stage, but specifically at startups and what the industry's like, how to break into it, where are the strong points, where are the weaknesses, or what's the opportunity. And that's why we have Ron here. Ron Shifron, ladies and gentlemen, introduce yourself and tell us a little about what you do and your history in the industry and so on.
Okay. Thank you, Melech. Thank you, Yeshua. A pleasure to be here. And I'm what you may call an innovation enabler, meaning I help companies and startups and technology get out to the world, and mostly in digital health and medical technologies, and help companies build ecosystems to help them build the markets properly. I come with a technical background in product management and many, many years of experience working in and running startups and helping startups and mentoring them. So it's a great pleasure always to see good technologies and to help them into the world.
Thank you.
When we say digital health, or is that something very specific, or is that anything to do with health and technology combined?
Okay, so this relates to the next topic as well. Digital health, I think, is the new era here. It's the digital transformation. Everybody is on the topic today, especially with the coronavirus. It's helping with telemedicine. It's helping with home care. It's helping with remote care, even in the hospital. And the biggest thing digital health allows for, and we will see in the next few years, next few decades, is to enable personalized medicine. Up until today, we had general medicine. Today, we're seeing more and more personalized medicine because we're able to gather more data and be more efficient and more personalized in treating the patient, whether it's a specific ailment or even just in general to predict and foresee and even to diagnose ailments you wouldn't be able to before. So all that is being enabled by this new digital health era. And what you hear in the news as artificial intelligence, machine learning, all of that is basically encompassed into what I call digital health. So we're about to see a great new transformation, and it's high time for all these digital health companies to shine, especially today.
That's great. Okay. If somebody's a startup, I was coming out of a startup that had part of the process or the part of the product of the company in digital health. Excuse me. Let's shut that off. What we saw was it takes a lot of pieces to be put in place from so many different angles. What type of a team, how to raise money, what approach to take to get your product accepted into the world. It's not like, for example, now let's say I'm tampering with Amazon. So there Nothing's easy, but you go out and you can get a physical product like a cup or a plate or whatever you want, and you have some headache from China or wherever you're ordering. And then, but once you get the product, it's sort of simple to send the product in. But when it comes to a digital health company, what are some basic steps? Maybe this is too broad, or what would you recommend for a company to do as a startup? This is great to launch their company and lead themselves towards success. And Ron is now sharing his screen. This will be very helpful.
Yeah, that's a great question, Melech, and thank you for setting me up for this. Basically, this is what I call the 24 steps to market. And this is a process every medical technology, digital healthcare a company has to go through. It starts at 12 o'clock and goes clockwise. So the first half of the clock is basically developing the product, more on the market analysis, the strategy, getting the money, developing the product, and developing a strategy for the patents, doing the clinical validation, both on the research phase and also afterwards on the marketing phase when you want to enter markets, and I'll discuss that a bit more later. And then there's the whole issue of the regulatory, the reimbursement, who's going to pay, okay, and if it's a product, where and how are you going to produce it? If it's just software, how are you going to control it? And then it gets into the market side of things, on how do you develop the market. But basically in digital health, what's nice about digital health actually is your barriers of entry to market are minimized compared to medical devices. You have less regulatory, you have less issue on reimbursement, you have less issue on validating it clinically. You can get to market much, much quicker. And that's why you're seeing more and more of the non-medical technology players getting into this field, such as, Google and Microsoft and all the other giants are also getting into this because it's basically now more of a software play than a technology play. It could be that the technology is just a wearable, but the actual product is the software. So that's why you're seeing more and more non-medical technology people coming in, and that's why you're seeing this market experience such big growth in the last few years, and I expect it to see even more growth in the next few years. I can tell you, just diverting from this chart here, I can tell you that the pharmaceutical companies are reinventing themselves around digital health as well, because they understand it's going to be personalized medicine, and they need to start working hand in hand together with digital health companies and experts in order to enable their treatments in the future. So long story short, it is indeed a long process, but with digital health, it's shortened. You have to get the right experts in order to build the ecosystems correctly, and it doesn't matter where geographically you're working with. You always have to build ecosystems, and that's one of the things our health companies do is, okay, let's put together the correct strategy and tactics, but also let's think about prioritizing the markets you want to get into, how you want to validate it clinically, with which partners, finding your strategic partners to go into the market with, and then creating, distributor, OEM, joint venture, licensing agreements, what have you, in order to be able to get to market. Going to market today, it's very hard, and very expensive to go to market alone, solo. So you always have to look for the right strategic partners to go with. And in order to get the attention of strategic partners, you have to go through this process in order to show them that your product is working. Especially the big strategic partners, they always say, you know, great technology if you come too early, and speak to us when you're ready. But what they mean was when you're ready is show them that it's working in one geography, that all the pieces of the puzzle have come together and all the, you know, the payers are in place and everything is working just in one market. You don't have to show them the whole world, and then they'll be attracted and interested in looking at it because they're the experts in dispersing it globally. They have the network and
Infrastructure.
global sales network to be able to disperse it. So it's really, you know, it comes down to the strategy and tactical steps on how you do this correctly.
Is there a certain step where clients come to you, or any point anywhere in the stage of the management of products, meaning this cycle?
Yeah, I mean, I do mentoring in early stage, but most of the companies need the help and past their development stage, meaning especially Israelis are experts in developing, but when it gets to the market, there's a big gap as far as how to go to market and what to prioritize. For instance, today I recommend everyone to look at markets out in the Far East first rather than the USA first, because it's quicker, it's cheaper, and you can help bootstrap your company and much quicker than, you know, raising funds, exorbitant funds to fund a US operation. So I can give you an example. I'm now working with put together a Launchpad program in Taiwan, where we're taking Israeli companies to open up their Far East operations. And basically, they get exposed to the whole ecosystem there in Taiwan and also in the Far East as far as what the requirements are. And then they're ready after the program to be able, they do a proof of concept, a pilot study with the local partner. And after that, they're basically ready to go out to market. They're ready to get investors from strategic partners. They're ready to find their strategic partners, who to go to market with. And they've got everything lined up for the Far East. So it's these silos, ecosystems that help companies build in order to help them ease the pain of penetrating into market.
Right. So you put together the portfolio and then you bring a full portfolio over at once, or is there like a specific?
Well, yeah, in this case, it's we just started the program this year. So it was the enrollment was rolling on a rolling basis. It wasn't that we waited for the whole team to come on board and start. As soon as they came in, we started matching them up with strategic partners, and they're running. They already have, some of them already have agreements for the proof of concepts. Others are talking about agreements for where and how to manufacture. Others are talking about agreements for investments and so forth. So each one is on a customized basis, but they get exposed to the whole ecosystem. And like I said, both in Taiwan and in the Far East, like Japan, Korea, China, Singapore, and all the rest. And the intention later, or probably not this year, but next year, to open up other geographies as well in the same sort of model, as this seems to be working very good in helping companies get to market.
One really important thing I know the company I started was struggling with is, and I saw many people, you know, in accelerators, other companies, rather startups, struggling with, is how to raise money. Now, this is really a twofold question, and I wish you would be as blunt as possible, but the two are like this. People shouldn't build up their expectations, dreaming and spending a year planning, unless they know there is a practical way to get money. So number one, where or how do companies, startups go to raise money? And number two is, practically speaking, at which point should they expect to use any of the various channels that you may mention to raise the money, right? Let's say they come in with nothing to their name, with an idea, or they already built something. At which point do they go where, and do they have to have something to start with, or can they just come in with zero?
Okay. 1 second, I'm trying to share another screen for you. So can you see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So basically getting it's actually not just distribution successful, it's for investment, but that's okay. We'll use this. And basically, the trick is how you raise valuation quickly before you go out for investment, whether it's the ability to bootstrap, whether it's the ability to put together some strategy and tactics, or even doing clinical validation to raise your valuation. What I'm saying is basically, I think companies in the last several years at least have run to investors too quickly, and they've had to give up too much of equity or too much stake in the company. I think companies need to see how they can bootstrap, meaning whether they can take their technology and make sales in other applications which are not relevant to the main focus they're doing in the meantime. Like for instance, if a company has a platform technology that could treat in the veterinary world now, because there's minimal regulatory clearances needed while they're developing their clinical model, that's a way to bootstrap, okay? There are many different ways you can skin the cat, as they say, skin the company to see how you can bootstrap. But it definitely helps if you come more prepared and more positioned properly to investors. Now, early stage companies should not even approach VCs, because VCs today are more like private equity. They're looking to invest into companies who are more mature and just need money for growth. Today, especially in our world, although with a caveat of something that's happened because of Corona, today in our world, companies need to try and work with either private investors, angel groups, strategic partners who could invest, the big corporates who could invest a little, and see where, where they can get smart money that could be and people that are investing the money that can help the company other than just giving them money. So number one is get smart money. Well, sorry, number one is try to bootstrap as long as possible. Number two is get smart money to take you up for a longer route. And then when you're ready and you're in the market and you're already mature enough, you can go for the bigger money, which is either venture capital or, investment banking. I mean, there are many different routes to take then, but also I would always look first to the big players who are hungry for innovation because they don't do their own development. They don't do their own innovation. Innovation today is only done by startups. And when it's mature enough, the big corporates come in and buy them out. It's much cheaper for them to buy a de-risked company than to go out and develop it on their own. And they don't mind paying much more, and like I say, after you've proven that that your model is working in at least one country.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. What I hear also from what you're saying is, and this is the trap of the startup world I witnessed, is can you control yourself to stick to the MVP, minimally viable product, as you test it and validate it, like you said, by bootstrapping, whatever. It is so difficult for great people, even the best, maybe not the best, but great people, to control their temptation to launch their full dream all at once. So like you gave the example of, let's say, a veterinarian, that's less, you don't have to go through all of the regulatory hurdles. So the person's like, what? I don't want to heal a horse. I'm trying to heal a guy. This person's dying of something. I'm going to waste my time on that stuff. Like, I'm going to give them this, that, and that feature in the app, and they're going to have a computer system in their house. And like, it's like a $20 million investment. They can't get anywhere, and they throw the company away, So, but I think that was excellent advice. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, that's both for investors and for distribution. You got to get your strategy right. You got to get your tactical steps that are actually itemizing how to get to your strategy right. You got to do your clinical validation at each local level, and then you got to you got to get out there into the market and show that it's working, showcase it, doing case studies and putting together mandates and doing trainings. It's a lot of work. I mean, people think that after developing a product, they're done. Well, they haven't even started, because the big work is getting it to market and getting everybody to use it.
Right. I hear you. You've answered so many important questions, and the truth is, it's quite a complicated. I've spent a lot of time with Ron. Before you get to how we can reach you and your availability, because you're a very busy guy, but believe me, everyone, I've worked with Ron as a consultant. He's a consultant for us. He was outstanding, result-oriented. And not that this video is meant for a sale, but the truth is, you need the help. Trust me. I don't know who you are, but you need the help, and he has many of the answers. It was I found it interesting before we close with you, maybe saying how we can reach you and maybe announce whether it's email or website and so on. But just one thing we didn't bring out, and it may be important for people to hear, a quick story about, you once had a company, you built it up, you sold it. In there, people will hear embedded some of the things you said in real life. Maybe would you mind sharing it for a couple of minutes? Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, well, I've got lots of different examples. I think one of the good examples is how you help push products into the market. I mean, we can sit here and talk about a lot of brave stories, but I think one of the things is how you help push things into the market. And let me.
You're finding a screen. But what was your story besides your advice? What was the name of that company? I mean, I've heard it 1,000 times and my head's gone blank. But you took the company, you built it up. I forget what it was called. Matrix. My head's blank. But you had your own company, then you built it, and
Yeah,
you sold it off.
it wasn't my own company, no.
I mean, whatever whatever you were part of, but you led the business
I
development.
was instrumental in building the company, but it was a monitoring company that ended up getting sold to Medtronic for lots of money. Well, actually to Covidian, which was then sold to Medtronic. So today it's under the auspices of Medtronic, but basically, um, I think one of the main things is always think outside the box how you're going to bring your product to market. And one of the successes we had in that company was we basically worked with clinicians on a country level in order to develop protocols that mandated the use of technology, of our technology, the CO2 technology that Iridian provided. So basically, that spurred, we started that in Europe, and that spurred the same sort of activity in other geographies, such as the US, the Far East, South America, and so forth. And now today, the product is mandated for use, meaning everybody has to use it. And so one of the main challenges we had in doing that was we had to come up with sufficient training materials in order to train everybody to be able to do that. So to be able to be proficient with how to use the technology, and it was easy to use, but until clinicians didn't understand the clinical value, they wouldn't use it. And that's where we came in with pushing it from the other way, from the bottom up, and from the clinical side, and using. So you always have to think outside the box in how to bring your technologies into market. And I won't go through all these slides, but in digital health wearables, I've been involved with many different wearables so far. Today we're doing POC pilots with several of these that have exposed it to medical centers, potential distributors, potential investors, and it's basically produce for these companies investments, manufacturing and solutions, and strategic partners. Basically, the the thing is that if you're thinking outside the box, you'll always come up with the great solutions that your competitors are not doing, and that you can outdo them and get to market quicker.
That's great. Okay. And by the way, if you reach out, Ron's going to share this with you, but here's his email. I think that was excellent. And anybody who is inside of this field and trying so hard to launch their product or get it out there, even if you're at some sort of a beginning stage, like when we were out there, we found our own team with doctors and engineers. Sometimes what you need is to save the money and the time, are resources like companies who help you, build parts of the company, the product quicker, or, you don't want to spend the money to fix costs on team members. You want to accelerate that process. Or we went together, Ron and I, to India and met potential partners over there, and watching how quickly companies, the Far East, or the countries like that, and how receptive they are to new technology. And the potential is huge with the right guidance. So I couldn't, you have to have your own internal intelligence and hardworking, work ethic, but you need to have the proper advice as well. So I hope that it was great and informative to everyone else. But yes, Ron, what were you say?
Yeah, I'm happy to help and guide everyone to, that needs, and give pointers which direction to take. So do reach out to me, and let's get you to market.
All right.
Sounds
All right,
good.
I'm fine. Thank you for your time, Ron. Really appreciate it. And we may, we'll see how this goes in the future. If we have a calling for it, we can get you back on for, more detail in particular things. We'll see where it heads. What's good for you? What's good for the people?
And definitely, there's a lot of different areas we can focus on.
Okay. I appreciate it. Have a great here in
Thank you,
Israel.
Ron.
Have a great evening.
It's nice to meet you.
All right.
Very informative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Be well. Take care, Ron.
Bye.